Destroy your lives.
Muddy the water a little bit, make Julie's character.
This movie is about an American family on a ski vacation in Austria, and it's a husband and wife with two twin boys, and they're on day 2 of their trip, and they're outside eating in a restaurant on a mountain, and all of a sudden there's a boom, and there's an avalanche that starts very, very far away, and everybody gets up and starts taking pictures, and then it gets closer and closer, this avalanche, and it looks a little bit strange, and then all of a sudden it's seemingly upon them, and the mom in the movie, played by myself, grabs her 2 children, and the husband in the movie, played by Will Ferrell, grabs his phone and takes off in the opposite direction. And that's really where the movie takes off. And it's about the unraveling of the dynamics in their family, in their relationship as a result of this moment. It was dynamite. I've always been a huge fan of Will's. Our paths had never crossed before in this town, never, despite the fact that we have all of these, we have so many friends in common and so on, but anyway, it was delightful. He couldn't be a more warm or charming or intelligent actor. Yes, we were laughing a lot. We had hot water bottles around us all the time because we really were shooting it practically on location. So it was in snow, in 15-degree weather, and it was arduous but really thrilling.
And what do you think the audience?
Well, I think it's food for thought. I mean, it really does. It deals with all sorts of issues of gender and truth-telling and shame and owning the truth. What would you do? What did you think was the right move? And we leave it very, it's not good guys and bad guys in this film. There's a lot of ambiguity. It's about good people making some very bad decisions, and not just Will's character, but mine as well.
It is a story of a family and a couple who were taking some time out in their busy lives to take a ski trip in the Austrian Alps, trying to find time to reconnect as a family, to reconnect as a couple, and put their phones away and unplug for a while, only to, on their first day of their trip, get faced with this test avalanche, which turns out it was just a test, but it, in the moment, feels very real. And both the wife and the husband react to this imminent danger in very different ways. With the husband, my character, leaving my family, and that decision kind of tapers the rest of the trip and the rest of the movie in terms of how they interact with each other, questions how strong their relationship is, and really sets the whole story in motion. Well, I think they're going to be really pleasantly surprised by this movie because it's not what you expect it's going to be. It's while it's funny, it also it's intensely dramatic, and I think it's going to create a lot of discussion about relationships and how well you know your partner, and I think it opens up a fun kind of discussion. We hadn't ever worked together. We haven't even met before, and so to get to kind of sit down and meet someone that I admired so much, comedically and otherwise, and to have such a great experience, it was amazing. It was very cold. Lot of long underwear. I've never worn like 3 pairs of long underwear before. A lot of heating pads and water bottles, but we did what we had to do to make the movie.
Yes, Downhill is about an American family of 4 who go on what's supposed to be this idyllic family ski vacation to the Austrian Alps, and they encounter an avalanche, and the husband and father, Pete, grabs his phone and runs, leaving his wife and 2 kids behind. And while everyone makes it out of the avalanche physically unharmed, there's a lot of emotional trauma they have to navigate. So I play Rosie, who is sort of on a self-exploratory backpacking trip with her newish boyfriend, Zach, played by Zach Woods. And we overlap with Pete and Billy and sort of get sucked into their family drama and have very different opinions about the situation. I think this movie sort of highlights just how messy and confusing and unpredictable human beings can be, and that this life experiment is a wild ride. And just try to cop to your mistakes and say, I'm sorry.
It's about a family that goes on vacation in Austria, an idyllic ski vacation, and then what appears to be an avalanche strikes, and they're all eating lunch together, and this avalanche comes thundering down a hill, and at the last moment the father, who's played by Will Ferrell, grabs his phone and runs away, leaving the mother, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and her 2 kids, I don't know why I added another kid, huddled, waiting to die. And then it turns out that the avalanche was a controlled avalanche, and it actually wasn't risking anybody's life, but the family then has to deal with the fallout of this very revealing moment, and that's what the movie's about. I play Zach, and Zach is one of Pete, Will's characters, friends from work, who he invites to join them for dinner one night as a buffer from having to have a conversation about his conduct. And he thinks, I think, that when Zach and Rosie, my girlfriend in the movie, show up, that will prevent them from having to unpack this horrible moment, but instead they end up having the fight in front of us. And it's this kind of like white-knuckle dinner scene, like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Both people are very good in certain ways and very bad in certain ways, and sort of muddling through it, fumbling around in the dark trying to figure out how to be a family. I think that's a relatable experience for a lot of people, and it's also quite funny in my opinion. Yeah.
We were going up the mountain in a car, and we were talking about how the mountains look like cookies and cream ice cream. We all loved it, and I wrapped on my birthday. So later, Julia said she had a surprise for me, and she sent me 10 pints of cookies and cream ice cream after that.
Will and I, one time we were in makeup, and we saw like our ski doubles wigs for us. So we weren't in at the same time, but we put the wigs, each other's wigs on, and like did a bunch of funny poses in them, and it turned into like a gift card, I think, or something that we handed out at the end of the film. But that's one, yeah.
I think we hope that audiences will be able to see themselves in these characters and laugh at themselves. These are characters who are very much like we are, with both in the virtues and in the flaws. And they're put under extreme circumstances. They're put in front of an avalanche. What do you do? What happens? How do you act? And that's both something that's funny and kind of terrifying to watch because you don't know how you'd act.
Also admit when you've done the wrong thing. It'll save a lot of pressure and anger.
I'm playing Guglielmo. I'm the ski instructor that tries to be in the middle between Will and of course Julia. Maybe successfully, maybe not. You'll see it. And yeah, it's a fun character. I really enjoyed my time there. We were in this amazing place in Austria. I was skiing every day, so I mean, great office to work in. I come from Italy. This was my first big movie in the United States, and they made me feel like at home. So nothing but just good words about them. Julia especially, she's incredible. Because I didn't work with Will that much, but Julia she's an incredible performer, an incredible human being. I was very lucky to work with her. Oh yeah, I was playing the ski instructor. I was very convinced in my role, and I of course crashed in the snow very badly. And yeah. I mean, we have a lot of stuff to say about it, but...
Yes, Downhill, which is an American version of Force Majeure, which is a Swedish movie from about 6 years ago, I think. It's basically about a family that goes on a ski vacation in the Alps. This takes place in Austria. And basically while they're out on a midday ski break, having dinner or lunch at a little restaurant, they set off controlled avalanches around that part of the, after a big snow. Avalanche starts coming towards the restaurant. People start filming it, thinking everything's fine. It starts to get bigger and bigger and come at them. At the height of the moment, our husband character, played by Will Ferrell, grabs his phone and runs away, leaving Julia, his wife, and 2 kids at the table. And then everything's fine. It's dust up. And he comes back and sits down and doesn't speak about it. And so it's all about this marriage trying to decide who you're married to. And exactly do you know the person that you fell in love with?
Oof.
You're welcome.
That was exhausting.
Exhausting or spot on?
I mean, when you're shooting in a climate such as the Alps and you're on the side of ski mountains and you're asking people to, be dropped off in a snowcat on the side of the mountain, early in the morning and not to be picked up late in the day and asking them to ski and run up the mountain and be freezing cold all day, you just hope and cross your fingers that you are working with patient and kind people, and true to form they were. So we lucked out. Hopefully it's a conversation, I think, after the film, a debate, do you truly know the person you're with? What would you do in that situation?
Hey, stay with me for more on comedy movies. Now, the top 5 highest grossing comedy movies of all time are The Hangover Part 2, Meet the Fockers, The Intouchables, Bruce Almighty, and Home Alone. Now, what's your favourite comedy movie? Do you have one? Let me know in the comments below. And also, do you like my shirt? You can get one too for yourself. The link is in the description below.